Kate Wagner, welcome to Invisible Impact. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Kate is the architecture critic at The Nation, an incredibly talented writer. You might know her on social media, where she's also very talented and shares a lot of great stuff. And Kate is unfortunately a part of our concussion community and has written about this beautifully. I know a lot of people might have seen your essay and connected to that, and just so excited to have you share your experiences with us today. I think we're just going to start right at the beginning of the concussion and kind of dive right in. Can you share with us how you got your concussion? And then we'll kind of go through what happened next.
So we're in Chicago, Illinois. And in Chicago, Illinois, in January, the temperatures become demonic. And it was negative 15 degrees
Lovely.
Fahrenheit outside. And I went to go take the dog out, and the ground was frozen over. And so the dog made a run for the open gate, and I ran after him, and I slipped and I hit my head on the ice right between the eyes. The ground was so frozen that the grass actually cut my face when I hit my head. And so when I hit my head, like I hit it literally right between the eyes. If I didn't have freckles, you would be able to see the scar.
Oh my goodness.
So my brain went forward and then backwards and then forwards again. And it was so funny because I went inside, and I was on deadline at that time for my column at The Nation. And I felt bad, and I wrote it, and I was like, okay. And then the crazy thing is I wrote another one the day after, which is like kind of a big no-no. And I always wonder if that made things worse. But it felt like such a stupid fall. I just fell in the yard, and then I had this months-long process of getting better.
I think it's really important that you note that you just worked right after and kept working, because I think people think like, oh, okay, concussion, I just can't do sport. I think people don't realize like you actually also need to take a break cognitively.
Yeah.
So that's important to know. When did you find out you had a concussion?
About like maybe, I was like, wow, I don't feel good,
Yeah.
And I just felt like my head was swimming, like I was in a fog. And so I went to the urgent care in, America, right? There's no point in going to the emergency room. I was just like, okay, I'm going to go to the urgent care. And she was like, you have a concussion. You have to lay in a dark room and don't look at screens and, cocoon. And I was like, okay. And I really should mention that at the time, the thing that made my concussion, I think, take longer to heal and was also like kind of a living hell on earth is that upstairs, my landlord was renovating the apartment, and it was like a gut reno. So there was nonstop jackhammers and everything. So it really felt like I was kind of being tortured a little bit. And so there were many nights where my husband and I just like would get a hotel room just so I could start to sleep. But yeah, so the cocooning thing didn't work. And it doesn't work actually.
Well, very outdated advice for
Extremely
2025.
outdated. Yeah, they keep giving this advice too. Because I went to the urgent care a second time when I still didn't feel better. And they were just like, yeah, you got a cocoon. It's crazy how this keeps being perpetuated over and over again.
And as the patient, it's like, our brain's already injured, so we're just going to do whatever you tell us. And so if you're just going to tell us to rest, like, okay.
It's like, yeah, why am I the person with a brain injury having to go through this? Yeah. Eventually, I decided to go be with my parents. I just flew down to North Carolina to be with my parents. And thought that maybe I would start getting better. And, the crazy thing is that when you're really vulnerable and you're really, you can't really read for that long, for example, there's a lot of scams out there on the internet and a lot of people who are willing to tell you, whatever you want to hear. Like if you take this supplement or if you go to this $20,000 rehab clinic, then you'll get better. Or you have like the AI summaries at the beginning that give you bad information or whatever. And so it was funny when I was at my parents', that's when I like discovered CLF in the hotline. And then finally it was like, you need to go see a concussion doctor. And also you need to go to physical therapy. And I was like, what would physical therapy do for this? And it was crazy because I didn't start getting better until I did go to physical therapy.
And before we get to the getting better, because we definitely want to talk about that, can you kind of walk us through, you do such a good job of it in your essay, but like what the hard parts are, like what this looks like when you just are shut down, essentially? It's
really terrible. The biggest part that was the hardest, I felt like, was that I couldn't sleep. All of a sudden, I couldn't sleep at all. And because I wasn't able to sleep, I wasn't able to do anything else. And there was this feeling of just like, am I ever going to get better? And I actually feel like I have a lot of trauma from that. Even now, like if something minor happens to me, I'm like, am I going to be like this forever? You know, if I have a cold right now and my mind goes right to the concussion place. Am I going to be like this forever? Am I going to have brain fog forever? Am I a worse writer now than I was before? And I still struggle with that actually to this day. I think that's the hardest part, is this feeling that something has fundamentally changed, that my job is thinking and I couldn't think. And it was terrifying.
And those sustained days and day of like, okay, it's still not better. It's still not better. It's still not better. What sort of thoughts were happening in your mind during that time?
I was extremely depressed. I felt like mildly suicidal, I think. I hit my head also the day of the inauguration. So everything that came after that felt especially crazy. And it kind of had this sense of unreality that I think it had to a lot of people, but like it was like kind of literal to me. And so meanwhile, like if the world was like a kind of stable place while I was getting better, I think it would have been easier. But it felt like I hit my head and I like stumbled into like an alternative universe. It was so disorienting. And so I really was like, if I don't get better, like what is my purpose for living? If I can't do this for a living, if I can't think for a living, I have to find some other way to make meaning in my life. And I think that was the worst part, was just not knowing. And I still struggle with like the fact that I'm not, you know, as resilient as I used to be. Not as I stopped drinking a long time ago, but you know, even if I wanted to start again, like I wouldn't be able to hang out. I can't, like I have to keep to like a regular schedule. Like the parameters of my life are more limited than they were before. And that's a hard thing to deal with when you're like 31 years old. But yeah, I think the continuity of it, the days were so long and they were so full of jackhammers.
That's killing me. I can't believe that you did that, because it's already after the concussion, like sound is so heightened. Like I could not be in a restaurant. I could not, it's so hard to be in the world and then to have a construction zone on top of your head.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think that the anxiety was also the worst too. It was like depression and anxiety. Just this constant feeling of being unwell. This sense of being unwell, this sense of like fear and malaise, and this just deep sadness that what if I don't get better? And I think that, you know, it's changed me in a way that is still difficult to reckon with, but it does get better. It's not permanent, but I still have to go through the process of, you know, healing the emotional wounds and the becoming more resilient again. Like that's an ongoing process.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't happen overnight. Was the depression and anxiety you talk about, like, almost felt just like a cascade of like after the injury, and then you're like, what is going on? And was it hard to recognize?
I mean, I've always had some depression and some anxiety because I am a liberal subject in the world, right? You know,
right.
I'm an individual existing in society, and society is not particularly amenable to life,
right,
and the perpetuation of life and happiness. And so I feel these kinds of pressures already, but I think that it was existential, because it was like, this is my life, this is what I devoted my life to, this is what I was really good at, what if I can't do it anymore? And
the identity crisis.
It is like about identity, but it's also about purpose, because I really kind of had no other purpose in life than writing, than the written word. And I still kind of don't. I thought I would learn from this, but like nope.
It's so hard.
Nope, I didn't learn from it.
But it's also something interesting, and I think you noted this, is that like you're then grappling with these like big thoughts of like, okay, if I can't do this, what am I going to do next? But your brain is not having capacity to be having these big thoughts. And so then you're just left feeling what would you say?
I think just afraid, honestly. I think for me, the worst part was just desperately trying to get back. Just like constantly checking myself. Am I thinking? Am I feeling okay? You know, how am I? And that, I think it took a toll on my marriage. I think it took a toll on my relationship with my friends. I didn't see people for a long time. And so the isolation also made things worse. And then there was this pressure to get better quickly because I'm writing a book and it was due in August actually, and now it's due in March. But I had to email everyone and be like, I have a head injury and I don't know when I'm going to get better. And there was still this pressure to get better. You know, in March, I said like, okay, by the end of March, I'll be fine. And I was starting to get better, but like I didn't really get better until about May, when I started to feel recovered.
Right. And when you made the decision to step back from work and like, okay, I got to like really shut it down, what were your days filled with? I think people wonder like, what do you do? And I think it's important to have like what you can do because like the list is limited.
It's so miserable because I couldn't even listen to music, you know, because just listening to music was just overpowering. It's funny. I did watch some TV.
Okay.
My husband and I rewatched Twin Peaks.
Nice.
But I spent most of my days trying to read. I think I was reading physical books. I actually find it funny because there's a lot of dead periods I just don't remember. It's not like a real amnesia, but there was just nothing happening in my life at all. I think that I was just laying in bed most of the time or thinking or trying to think.
Did you find time moved slowly or quickly?
I felt... In retrospect, it feels like it was quick, but at the time, it felt like every day just lasted forever. Forever. It's amazing how little I remember. I think because the days were all the same.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some protection, but the days were all the same. I remember sitting and trying to write out thoughts that I had, and just trying not to forget them. Eventually, once I started going to physical therapy, you know, then things started to get better because my eyes could start working. But actually, I think most of my time was filled like obsessing over having a head injury, to be honest with you.
The symptom at the time of like that made writing difficult, that make life difficult, obviously it's a lot of different symptoms, but for you, was it like everything's giving me a headache, or was it like my brain is not working?
I felt like I had a headache basically constantly. And part of the reason why was because even when I went to the urgent care, they didn't do an x-ray. Both times I didn't do an x-ray. And so no one could figure out that I had whiplash. And so my neck is like pulling on my eyes, basically.
Sure.
And pulling on my head. And it's like, why do I have these headaches? And I was like, oh my God, it really must be terrible. And it turns out I also had injured my neck and I wasn't treating that. For months, I wasn't treating that. And so I had a headache basically all the time, and it was a cervicogenic headache from my neck pulling on my eyes. It wasn't so much the head injury that was giving me a headache.
Right.
But the other thing was I was really sensitive to light. I had to wear blue light glasses pretty much everywhere. Going outside, I had to look at the ground. I couldn't stare at a screen, and my eyes felt stuck in my head.
Ooh.
And so it was so bizarre. And then I didn't realize that there was a problem with my eyes. I thought it was all my head. I didn't realize there was a problem with my neck. I thought it was all my head. And so when the pieces finally came together, then we could move on. Then we could make a program. But until that point, I just was like, oh my God, I have a brain injury. Every single day, I was like, oh my God, I have a brain injury. This horrible thing happened to me. And that was all I thought about. I couldn't think about anything else. Couldn't really do anything else. Right.
You really are just stuck thinking about it constantly. And did you have validation like from your community? And I know a lot of people that I've talked to, and something I experienced myself was like this almost like gaslighting of like, you're fine. Like, why aren't you better yet? Get better. Like, you didn't even hit your head that bad. Like, what is going on? Like, did you have any of that? Or you were just like, oh no, everyone's telling, I know it's bad. The word brain injury is scary. And like,
I think everyone could tell I wasn't well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it manifested that I didn't seem mentally well. Like, not that, this physical symptoms or, whatever, that I was like staring into space, whatever. But I think it was clear I was clearly mentally unwell, that I was clearly anxious and uneasy and couldn't think about anything else and not secure in myself or what I was doing. And I just came off as unwell, I think. To other people. And my friends, they sent me flowers and, occasionally came to visit me, but I didn't want to see anybody in that state. And I think it was hard for my husband to see me in that state because it also made me vulnerable to things that are painful. Like when, the political situation, obviously, but I became more afraid than I think I would have normally been afraid. I had basically no resilience whatsoever because I couldn't even handle my own life. And so it's like I didn't get the sense that people thought, oh, you're fine, you seem normal. I think people did kind of say that to me to try and make me feel better, but I could tell that their heart wasn't in it,
Yeah, you're like, you're just saying that.
I think it was very clear that I was not okay.
I think the decision to go be with your parents, that was brave, or that was you trying to take care of yourself. And what did that time do for you? Or is that, talk more about why you decided to do that and just thinking of other people listening where it's like, it's actually let people take care of you.
Yeah, I should have gone down way earlier. I don't know why I decided to stick it out with the jackhammers for so long. I was kind of like a living zombie down there. I mean, my parents took care of me. My mom took care of me. It was clear that I wasn't well and I wasn't sleeping, It was like being a little kid again, actually, because my mom had to come in and rub my back and trying to get me to sleep because I just couldn't sleep. I was like, okay, I'm going to convalesce. I'm sick.
Yeah. The not sleeping is like one of the most horrific things. I can certainly relate to that. And it's like even hard for me to go back and think of those nights because it was so horrible. And I don't want to make you have to go back and think of it if that's going to be hard. But I am curious, like, for people having that symptom right now, that like, it's just so awful, the insomnia. Did you sleep a ton at first and then started not sleeping, or was it always
I think
insomnia?
There was a couple of days where I slept.
Okay,
all
and then
day,
it just shifted.
Then it was anxiety, a lot of it. Anxiety about sleeping, anxiety about the brain injury. But the other thing, when I went to the urgent care again, I don't know, maybe this is like TMI or whatever, but when I went to the urgent care again, they just give out antidepressants like candy. They're like, oh my God, we're just going to give you Zoloft because you feel sad about the brain injury. And it turns out I had undiagnosed bipolar disorder.
Wow.
And it was like obviously clear in retrospect that I had always had this, at least since I was like an adolescent. But if you give antidepressants to someone with bipolar disorder, they basically almost always enter mania. Oh. And so it wasn't just the brain injury. It was that they gave me these drugs that like basically wouldn't shut my brain off. And when I I immediately stopped taking them because I just couldn't sleep. And I was like, okay, I think I should be taking these. They're not helping or whatever. But it's crazy how this was just at, my primary care doctors. They just give you these drugs. They don't even think about the possibility that they could do something like that. And so it just goes to show you how bad the care is still at, the basic level. There were just so many mistakes that were made. That's just the thing that makes me the most angry, actually. It's not even that I hit my head. It's that I could have gotten better sooner. If all of these people, the entire medical system wasn't outdated, didn't make so many mistakes, didn't make so many assumptions about me or my brain or, what have you. It was a nightmare. But those nights, I remember just being by myself and with my own thoughts and just, trying to sleep, failing to sleep, going from one bedroom to the next, to the couch, to whatever, watching TV, listening to the podcasts, trying to sleep with the headache cat. You guys know the headache cat?
Oh, yeah.
On my head. Shout out to the headache cat.
Shout out to the headache cat.
The headache
really
cat
honestly pulls through. I still use it.
I do too, yeah. I actually use it a lot now when I come home and I'm sweaty and hot, and I just put it on my head. Yes. But yeah, those were the worst.
Yeah. What did that feel like when you did finally have the right PT and the right thing and these started improving? Like what emotionally for you was that relief like?
It was crazy because I finally got an in at the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. Because they see sports patients usually. And I went and the doctor comes in, he takes one look at me, he puts his hand on the back of my neck and he's like, oh, you have whiplash.
And you're like, excuse me?
And I was like, how could I have whiplash? I just hit my head in the yard. And he was like, you've got pretty bad whiplash. And he could just feel it immediately in my neck that I had whiplash. And it felt crazy to me. I went to the urgent care when I had the concussion. I went to the urgent care again, a different urgent care. I went to a different urgent care when I had, because I wasn't feeling better after, a week. After 2 weeks, I went to my primary care doctor who gave me the Zoloft. And then I didn't see anyone because they just kept giving me the same advice. And I was like, well, I just guess I just have to find this advice. And until I found the helpline, actually, that was just how it was going.
Yeah. Can you, not to like plug ourselves, but can you tell me what your experience was like with the helpline?
It was, I texted the number because I didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah, right.
And they sent me this PDF and it was like, oh, where the hell is this PDF? Like, like a month ago, right? And it was amazing and then they had the Zoom sessions and, there was I got the phone call and I learned some things. The headache hat came from that. And I was like, oh my God, the headache hat.
Yes.
Once I got to the headache hat, I was just like, because I had headaches every single day. And I would just take showers forever to try and get rid of them. And then my skin was like raw from taking so many showers. And then, then I finally found the headache hat and I was like, oh, you can just like kind of have the headache hat. But then I was like, oh, you need to see, there's all these doctors that you should be seeing.
Is that what our team connected you with? Okay.
Yeah. It's like you should go see a concussion doctor. And I was like, wow, there's such thing as a concussion doctor. Because I was like, okay, maybe like a neurologist or something. But then, you can't really get into a neurologist ever. But you can see a concussion doctor pretty easily. I got in once I called, I got in the next week.
Oh, great.
And they saw me and they said, you have whiplash. And you said, you have sluggish eyes. And he said, you have to go to physical therapy. And it was just, once I got on that track, I was able to recover within a month, or not fully, but significantly recover over the course of a month. And it's just, I wish I had that information sooner, but it just goes to show you how polluted the ecosystem is on the internet, especially now with AI. And it also goes to show you how bad healthcare providers are at providing this. Why didn't anyone at the urgent care give me this information?
Right. And it leads to so many people feeling so alone and confused and not being able to find the right care. To your point, we're fighting for those SEO.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're trying to get the word out.
It should be integrated into the healthcare system where when you get a concussion, people say, here's some resources for you.
Right.
And there weren't any resources at all. They were just lay in the dark.
If you're looking for resources like education to help you understand what you're going through, doctor recommendations, maybe some physical therapists or vision therapists in your area, peer support to connect with someone who's been through persistent post-concussion symptoms, there's an incredible free resource that I would really love for you to check out. It's a helpline that's linked right below. You fill out a form on the website, and a member of our care team will be in touch within 2 days to learn more about you, what you've been going through, and how we can get you the help you deserve.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. And then I'm so sorry to know that's what's happening for millions of people. Right now, all across the country. I'm glad that you found us. I'm sorry that it took so long. What else helped you feel better?
I think eventually I just was like, I'm sick. You got to just stop trying to get better as fast as possible. I think my husband took care of me a lot. And I think it was really hard for him. Sorry.
No, I'm it's a really challenging experience.
I think I started to feel better because first of all, I put my phone down. That was huge. Do not look at that thing. That's, especially when bad things are happening in the broader milieu. Do not pick that thing up, because you're not actually in a state. When you have a concussion, you're not in a state where you can emotionally regulate. You're just not.
Excellent point.
Yeah, you're really not. And so I wish I had done that sooner. But I started to feel better because I was going outside. I think the ice started to thaw by March and I could walk outside. I was at my parents' and I was with the birds, and I was just trying to kind of be present in the moment. I was, there's some meditation that I did Though I'm not, that doesn't solve everything, but
right.
I found myself using sort of relaxation techniques every time I would become panicked. I started to read books again, like print books. And I was reading books I was reading in high school, like not anything real serious. And eventually was kind of working my way up. But I think physical therapy was the main thing that made me feel better. Once I could get my eyes fixed, then I felt way better. Because I had really blurry vision, and sometimes I would have blurry vision in one eye. And it freaked me out so much that I was like, I need to go to the emergency room.
That's so scary.
And, I got there and the wait was like 4 hours. And I was like, okay, fine. You know what? I'll just go blind. And my husband's like, what is happening to my wife? And anyways.
Just the one eye that's gnarly. I've never had that before.
Yeah, it was crazy that I just didn't understand what was happening. I eventually got these really serious blue light glasses for when I was looking at my computer or going outside, and that helped a lot. The headache hat. I think everyone should have the headache hat regardless of whether they have a concussion.
Everyone in life, yeah.
Everyone in life.
I think the headache hat needs to sponsor you, actually.
I think, the headache hat, because I have a cold right now, and it's just, I can pop that sucker in the microwave and just like lay on the sofa.
Yeah.
Cover my eyes. Yeah, that was huge. The headache hat was a huge one.
I want to ask you about like the grappling with having these cognitive symptoms and feeling a different way about your intelligence and how scary that can be. Did you experience that?
Oh, I'm grappling with that still, I think. I still have like real panics about not being as good of a writer as I was before. And I think that that's not necessarily true, but I think that like having an undiagnosed mood disorder and the symptoms getting worse from that, I think is really kind of what's happening here. But yeah, I think, to be honest with you, that was the worst part, because it's like, what if I'm like this forever? What if I'm stupid? What if my career is over? What if I'm washed up? I still have those feelings. I still question those things even now. But the truth of the matter is I just can't work the way that I used to. But then it's, at the same time, I always wonder, like, was the way I was working unhealthy?
Right.
I hate feeling slow. Even now, like when I have a cold or whatever, or I was in Santa Fe and I had altitude sickness, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm stuck like this forever. That's the worst feeling. It's like, that is like the kind of trauma that continues. But dealing with that was existential. That was really painful. I didn't know what to do about that. And I still am sort of on the path to acceptance that like I am a different person after this happened to me. Like my life has changed. I am not working the same way. It takes me longer to write things. I mean, the way I was writing before was not healthy. Like I was writing like 5,000 words in a day and just,
oh my God.
Yeah, I was a real binger. And then now I was like, okay, we can do 3,000 and we can, it takes a little bit longer. Maybe I think sometimes like I've had to rework how I work, and maybe in the long run that's a good thing, but
still doesn't feel good.
No, I don't like it.
I can't decide if I should say this or not, because I don't know if it's going to be encouraging or like less, but I went through that as well. And I feel like at like the 2.5 year mark, I was like, I'm back. Like I'm even better than before with that, because the feeling slow, the feeling like in my work, like as a quick communicator and like being able to say something went away. I'd have to write every single thing down. I was like so shy, it really changes how you, your confidence too, like it did for me. But it came back and I feel like just as sharp, truly. Again, that's just my experience. But you just never know how long it's going to take. No, and you're like 2.5 years. Okay, bye. I know it sounds absolutely horrible to hear. Yeah, but my journey's different. Like I still have symptoms, and it's like a million years ago, and so like it's just completely different. But like mostly, I'm trying to say that it is possible. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I also think that like concussions bring on mood changes in a lot of people, and they can trigger mood disorders in people who don't have them. Whether that's depression, which is the most common mood disorder. We don't think of depression as a mood disorder.
But for me, like, I had to go on medication for bipolar disorder, just by I've lived a very high functioning life. And that also is difficult because a lot of that medication has side effects that feel like having a concussion. And I think that process right after is difficult. But I also want to like talk about that because I think like the long-term mental health implications of the concussion go under discussed. I think people do become depressed.
Very common.
Or anxious. I think I definitely have like minor PTSD from it. And I have like hypochondria too.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'm managing all those things. I go to therapy. I really work hard on myself. You know, I really try to be forgiving of myself. But no one talks about this, you know.
Do you feel with the like hypochondria coming on and like there's this desire now to like control your environment at all time?
Yeah, I actually do feel that. I don't go out as much. I mean, part of that was like I stopped drinking.
Right.
And when you stop drinking, then it does change your social life. And so I keep my life a little bit more limited than I did before, which is maybe for the best for my like overall health. But I also feel like a little bit more fragile. Like when I travel, I have to be really careful to not, with my sleep, for example, with anxiety. Like I don't have the same kind of spontaneity that I used to have, which is really actually hard to deal with. But at the same time, you know, I'm kind of just happy to be alive in a way. Like, I think the healing process it's not done yet. Like, I think maybe the concussion healing process is done, except for the sleep thing. But the rest of it, I think it could take a long time.
Yeah. There's a lot that lingers that people don't realize.
Yeah.
And you just got to take it one day at a time almost.
Yeah. But I remember like the first day I was like able to write again. When I was writing that essay, it came out as a kind of vomit of words that felt really manic. Like just, oh my God. Oh, it was actually crazy. I have the first draft and it reads crazy because it's just like, it really is like the lights came back on.
Wow.
And it's just this rush of kind of gibberish nonsense that slowly became something concrete.
How did it feel to finish it?
It took forever. I just remember sitting in the coffee shop. I still felt sick kind of when I was writing it. I felt headachy and sick, but I finished it and I was just like, you know, okay, I'm back. But I still wasn't really back. I still had
I'm halfway back. I'm
like kind of halfway back, yeah. But there's a part of me that is a little bit back. Felt like I'd regained some control over my life.
And that's a huge win. It's a huge win. What would your message be? Have a feeling there are quite a few, but if to people who are listening going like in the thick of it right now.
I mean, I want to say that it does get better. The worst part is not knowing the timeline of how it gets better, but it does get better. Like eventually, you know, your eyes will start working again. If you get the right care, if you get what you need, then yes, it gets better. And the kind of process of it getting better is a little bit miraculous, actually. This feeling of like day by day, suddenly starting to improve, suddenly developing a kind of not just resilience, but endurance to be able to do tasks. I think also you have to just give yourself a little bit of grace. And there's a part of you that has to accept that you might be different on the other side of this, but you're still yourself. It's not a moral failing.
I love that. And you don't have to chase the before. It's like we can be something.
You really should not chase the before because that is a chase that just doesn't end. Yeah. Just doesn't. I mean, there are a lot of things that are like that though. Like, you know, if you have a kid or something like that, they're not going to be the same as you were before. Right. It's just one of those things. But we're never the same people in life. We're constantly creating new iterations of ourselves. And there are things that do not involve hitting your head that create resilience in our lives and change them in negative or positive ways. And we have to just kind of think of it in that same that same way.
It's just one of those things.
I think people who learn to walk again also feel the same way. You know, it's just, again, it's just not a moral failing. Because I was beating myself up forever. Like, why did I have to go in the yard? And it's not my fault.
No, it's absolutely not.
It's not my dog's fault either.
No, it's no
animal.
one's fault. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's called an accident for a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you never stop wondering about it, but eventually you have to move on.
I'm sorry that it happened to you.
Yeah, me too.
I'm grateful that you're sharing. I think it's a really important thing that people can hear these stories and have something to relate to, and also just know the impact. Like, it's not just a concussion, you're better in 2 weeks in so many cases. And I think you're able to illustrate in a lot of different ways how it can impact your life. But you will get better.
You do get better.
You will get better. You can get better.
You can get better.
And it's going to be okay. It is going to be okay. And you're not alone.
Yeah. You're really not alone.
100%. Kate Wagner, appreciate you being here. Where can people keep up with you?
You can follow me in The Nation, the magazine. I have a monthly column there about architecture. I also have a blog about McMansions called McMansion Hell, which is also my handle on social media. So
amazing. We'll link it. We'll make sure to link the essay as well for people.
Yes. Thank you.